Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a face swap. So what I want you to do is have two photos that you're going to be swapping the faces on. So this is a scene from a show I liked called 1923, and I dropped my face right there. Not perfect, her face shape is a lot different than mine, so it's a little bit distorted, but I matched the colors and I kind of tried to fit it in as good as possible. So when you're trying to find photos, if you have a photo of yourself that's looking forward, you need to find a photo that you're going to swap with the person that's looking forward. So try to have the head angle about the same, but as long as you can get it pretty close, we can make pretty much anything work. So here is another one I made. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So this is the greatest show of all time, Star Trek: The Next Generation. And there I am as Deanna Troi, Counselor Troi. So let me show you how I did this. So I opened up my photo. So I have my photo that I'm going to swap my face on. And then I opened up a picture of my face from my phone, obviously a nicely filtered version of my face. And then I'm going to go over to the lasso tool over here. And then I'm just going to make an outline of my face. And then I realize when I make these videos on my little laptop desk, it makes a really scratchy noise, so I'm going to try to keep that to a minimum. I'm just kind of going around. You can pull more if you want, so if you don't get the shape you want, do Control D and you can deselect and start over. You can always erase out some of this, so if it's easier just to kind of get a little bit of the hair and stuff, then do it. So once you're satisfied with this, you're going to do Control C to copy, and then I'm going to do Control V to paste, and it's going to be humongous. So wait for my giant face. Boom. So Control V, and then now I need to make it kind of fit. So I'm going to do Control T, and then I'm just going to pull the corners. And then this is going to be kind of hard to see, right? Because it's kind of small. So I am just going to hit Enter, and then I'm going to do Control Plus. So I'm going to zoom in. And there's my giant face once again. So I'm going to make sure I'm on this layer. You can see I'm still on that lasso tool, so I don't want to click. I'm going to go back to my move tool. I'm going to do Control T, so I'm still on layer 1. And then I'm going to start shrinking this down. So now I'm going to go to, I'm on layer 1. I'm going to turn down the opacity, and I don't know why it's doing that, where it's like stroking out a bit. And I'm going to, now I'm just using my arrow keys. Just try to make it so I can see where my eyes are. And I'm just going to try to match them up. And then I'm up here and I'm tilting it a little bit. Then so you need to play around with kind of making it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. And most likely it's not going to match 100%. All of our faces are different, have different spacing. But just try to get it close, right? And then the next thing you can do, you can right click, and then these tools come up. So if you hit the warp tool, you can kind of pull your face a little bit if you need to. If you want it to look like you, I wouldn't make it too crazy, but you can kind of stretch it a little bit. So if that person has like a wider face or a thinner face, so that's pretty good. Now her face shape and mine are not similar. She has amazing cheekbones, but they're close enough. It's not going to be too off. Whereas the other one I did, her face was a lot different shape. So now that I have it like this, I'm going to turn the opacity back on. And then now I'm going to make a layer mask, and I'm going to kind of erase out the stuff I don't need. So remember to make a layer mask. It's this button right here. And then this is my layer mask. So it is white right now. So white reveals, black conceals. So I'll make sure my foreground color is black. I'm going to go up to my brush tool. Then on my brush tool, I want to make sure the hardness is on 0% because I want it to be fuzzy. I don't want it to be crisp. So I'm going to turn that down. And then to make it bigger or smaller, you can use your bracket keys. And then once again, I'm going to Control plus and zoom in here. And then I'm using my bracket keys. And I'm just going to kind of, and you can actually, if you want, you can turn down the opacity a little bit if you want to try to blend it a little bit more. So she has, this is actually a wig that she wears. She has these little curls that come down, so I want that. I'm going to try to just get as close as I want, and then I can just, if I want it to be more solid, I can just turn that back up. So you can see here, I might need to adjust it a little bit more. So I want to make my face a little bit bigger. I think it's a little bit too small. So if I want to do that, I can go back to my Move tool. And then I can do Control T again. And then I can mess with that opacity. I just want to make my face a little bit bigger. Ah, perfect. So don't be afraid to just keep messing with it. So I'm going to make sure I'm back on my layer mask. Remember, if I'm over here, it's going to paint black. I don't want that. I'm just going to kind of go back. Like, she has lots of lovely cheekbones and contouring, so it's a little bit different on my face, but there. Okay, and then just keep going back and forth till you get it the way you want. So her face and mine on here are pretty close. So you might need to make some more adjustments. You might need to use the warp tool a little bit more. But all right. So I did Control minus to zoom out. So now what I'm going to do is try to start matching the colors a little bit more. Because that's something that is obvious. Like, it looks like a cut and paste, right? So I'm going to go up to adjustments. If you don't have all this stuff, you might need to go to window and arrange your workspace. So mine's on essentials. If you need help in class, just ask. But I'm going to go to adjustments. Then I'm going to start with levels. So levels adjusts the contrast, a little bit of the color. It's kind of like an easier version of curves. So we're going to play around with that first. And then what I'm going to do, very important, right here, this is called a clipping mask. So when I hit this, this means this levels adjustment is only going to affect the layer below it. So now this levels adjustment is only going to affect my little cutout of my face, and it's not going to affect the background. So what I want to do here is match the value. So I'm going to turn this. I'm just playing around with these. So this is the black point, the gray, the white. So right now I'm just looking at, I'm not thinking about color as much as just trying to match the value. You can put a black and white layer and look at it to see if it matches, but I'm just going to eyeball it instead of making extra layers. You can also adjust the color with this here. So right now it's on RGB, but I'm going to use a different tool for the color. Well, that's just another way to do it. With Photoshop, there are a million ways to do the same thing. It's kind of just what you're comfortable with. So I'm thinking that's pretty good right there. All right. So I'm going to go back to my adjustments. And then I'm going to go to color balance. And then again, I want to use the clipping mask because I don't want it to change the entire picture, just that little cutout I made of my face. So I'm going to hit that, and then you can see it'll have that little arrow right there. And then now I'm going to just play around with my face and try to make it match. And then what's also cool about this tool is I can mess around with the shadows. So this is just affecting the shadows. So the color tint of the shadows. And then it has the highlights and the midtones. So if you have a lot of highlights and things that are like weirdly colored, you can do that. Another tool you could use is the color mixer. You can play around with that. You can also just keep using the levels and mess around with the color sliders on that. So there is not one way to do this, like I said. I'm thinking that's pretty good though. This one was a lot easier to do than the other one. So if you have a picture with a lot of weird color casts, if you need my help, just ask. Alright. Looks like we're getting there. So let's see. Yep. Okay, so now another thing is sometimes your blend will like really it's hard to get it to be really smooth. So you might need to go back and forth. This one isn't too bad. This one's actually pretty good. But another thing that I can do, I'm going to go back on my layer. I'm going to make sure I'm on the layer, not the layer mask. I like to use the little patch tool, and you can if there's like a harsh edge, you can just pull it and then you just move it to a space to blend the color. So I can do here and blend it. So if there was a harsh edge on my picture, don't have to do that. Just another option to mess with it. But once you kind of get it to a place where you're like, that's pretty good, I'm going to show you one more thing to kind of blend it in to make it look like a little more cohesive. So I'm going to make a layer. So go to my little plus. So this is at the top. Then I'm going to go to image and apply image. And remember, I've talked about this tool before a little bit, but what it does is it makes a layer of all the edits that we did. So it's like a picture of everything that we've done in one layer. And then I'm going to go up to filter, convert for smart filters, because I want to put it in camera raw. So I'm going to go filter, camera raw filter. So essentially it's like I'm putting it in Lightroom. So what I'm going to do, this is where you could edit the whole photo if you want to change things. Maybe you want to make it black and white. Maybe not. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of grain. And you can also add a little bit of texture, especially if your photo has a little bit different, like one is higher quality than the other. You can just kind of give it all a little bit of fuzz to make it look a little more even. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of grain. And then that kind of fixes it if the quality of the picture is a little bit different. So I'm just going to make it all a little grainy. And then I'm going to go OK. And then that's it. So as a finishing tool, I'm just going to flatten the image. I'm going to go File, Export. This is already a JPEG, but just for practice, export as a JPEG. And then save it. So make sure you save it where you can remember. And then try a few of these and see what works best. Practice these tools, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. Good job.